So, welcome, my dear Accudemia users. It's been really a long time since the last tech Talk. So, I've been really looking forward to see you again. And today's topic is going to be a really hot one. And by no means this is going to be a complete list at all, because in Accudemia we have many really good reports and export feature too. Actually, I'm going to be talking both about reports and export features. But again, in the sessions, typically users want to know which one is the most used reports that they can take advantage of. And again, this is a really debatable topic because everybody has a different, you know, way to do things and what they like and what they don't like that much. But again, I have compiled a list of these reports that I see most used, and people are asking about them really, many times during my sessions. So I would like to share it with you. Again, if you don't see some of the reports you use here, it makes complete sense just because there's many of them and they are really good. So I would like to start with the general reports. The general section is based on those reports based on the profile for the student, where you can get your actual users, depending on the role, you can get your instructors, you can get their profile information and things like that. And in that specific one, if you're using profile questions, which basically is additional information that you want to bring for the student, such as, for example, right there, if you notice on the right, I have some questions like whether you're an athlete and what is your preferred sport and things like that. Then the most basic report and the one that is going to give you the most information is going to be this user detail profile. So basically using this the detailed profile, and if you notice on the left, you have several ways to filter this type of report. And this is how actually, and this is a good tip that I want to share right away. If you notice right there, one of the filters in that report is going to be the groups. And this is how you can take advantage of those groups that you have been creating, like the baseball players and soccer players and the math lovers and the biology lovers and whatever the groups you have been creating in order to filter this type of reports. So basically, you're going to be presenting this type of report to the head of the center, whoever needs to have this information, and you can take advantage of not only the filters, but also, actually, if you notice right there, and actually, this is something that I would like to also tell you, because you see how it says, for example, in one of the options, show user ID. That is something that some people don't like to have in their reports, and sometimes you are going to have that checked by default. So please consider to uncheck that checkbox right there. So if you don't want to share the user ID because sometimes it's sensitive, but you can take advantage of this one. And then if you notice on the example there, basically I only ask about athlete and sports, but you can ask. I have seen hundreds and even thousands of entries for this profile-based report, and you can schedule this report if you want to send it every day, week, month to specific people. You could do that too. Okay, so that is related to the profiled report. Now, one of the other ones is going to be this user detail profile. And the reason for this is that you're going to have, and this is related to the surveys. You know that in Accudemia, you can create surveys and they can be triggered at the kiosk or when the students or the users sign into Accudemia. So one of the most used survey reports is going to be this detailed profile report. If you can see there, I mean, and that is a really simple report. It's only asking about one specific thing. But basically, this is what basically is going to tell you is that, the summary of the how many responded and what were the answers when you have a text-based answer, right? In that case, it's just, some example data. But right there, you can have those, summary type of report for surveys. And there is another survey report that's going to be a detailed one, which is going to tell you exactly who and what are the responses for that person. But that is going to be kind of long. Typically, you're going to have, you want to have preferably this type of summary report, and this is the one you can use. Now coming up next, now this is a difficult one because the center attendance report, there are quite a few. I think there's more than 20 of them. So it's difficult to handpick. But if I had to pick, and according to what I see in my sessions, this attendance by student that you see here is one of the most used. And the reason for that is really simple. If you notice, not only you have a lot of filters that you can pick specific locations, specific services, specific students, specific tutors, so you can make it really custom. But not only that, if you notice right there, you can create groups in the output options right there. You could create a group based on the report itself. So for example, let's say in the last 7 days, you want to know who came to the center for a specific service. Then if you check that checkbox, create groups, then you're going to have a group that you can later use to message the users, to have it recorded somehow, so you know what the list of users that have been coming to the center for XYZ type of reason. And this is really powerful. And obviously, there is the time range filter, which is the first one that you need to be aware of. And actually, this is another tip that I want to share with you in this type of reports. If you notice in that time range, you have access to some defaulted values like last week, last month, last 7 days, which is what we call a calculated field, because Accudemia basically at the time of the report is going to calculate what is that time range based on the selection. And that type of selection, last 7 days, last month, last whatever, that calculated field is going to be the one that you want for scheduling reports. Okay, so if you notice right there in pretty much all the reports, you're going to have that second button that says schedule report, where you don't need to come to Accudemia and you're going to get a report every week or every month or every day with certain information. For example, last week attendance, last week no shows and things like that. Then please make sure that you are selecting that type of time range, a calculated time range, instead of a fixed date. Like, for example, if you say instead of last 7 days, from the April the 1st to June the 2nd, then that is going to be a fixed type of date. So you're always going to get the same report. You have to be really careful to pick one of those calculated fields, and then please be my guest and choose the filter as you want it, okay? There's a lot of filters there, and you can use it. And again, schedule a report is really a good idea for the reports that you're going to be running periodically, so you don't have to come to Accudemia, sign in, go to the report, pick, and then click a bunch of times to get the report. You're going to be getting that report in PDF, in Excel, in whatever the format you want, every Friday night, for example, or every Monday morning related to last week information. And that is going to be really easy for you, comfortable. And that way, the same way as you are getting the report, you could send it to the tutors, you could send it to the head of the center, you could send it to the head of the school. There is a lot of possibilities here, right? And then if you notice on the right, basically that attendance is going to be based on the actual sessions. So in this case, for example, John has come 4 times in the last 7 days. And then you can have, the time range. In this case, it's only a couple seconds because it's a test data. In your case, it's going to say 30 minutes, 25 minutes, depending on how long the session lasted. So this is a really good report. And actually, if you know there, you're going to see some subtotals. And actually, this format that I'm picking right here is a PDF format. But if you select the one that I like, which is the CSV format, then you can get that report and open it in Excel, and then you can enhance that report in numerous ways. There is a gazillion ways you can enhance that report using the Excel owned functions that you can get totals, you can filter, you can highlight, you can create, all sorts of things with that report. So consider, instead of just printing it in a PDF, which is a fixed type of format, printing in CSV or an XLS format, so you can open in Excel and then enhance or update the report using Excel tools, which are limitless, honestly. Then this is another one that I have seen that most people use. And I mean, there is a lot of reasons for this, but the most important one is the one you see, this attendance summary report, is because of the summary by opportunity that you have. So you could pick course, service, location. So you can summarize this report based on specific items, such as, in this case, for example, course. So you can say, for example, right here, you can say that in the last 7 days in my sandbox, for applied calculus, 1 visitor has come, 4 times, and then for another unspecified course that they didn't say, one person came 1 time. So you can have there, and you can change this, and that is the highlighted option, by the way, on the left. How do you want to summarize this? Maybe instead of the course, you want to summarize by service, and then you're going to have that 20 people came for face-to-face tutoring, and then 25 came for counseling, and 55 came for computer use. So, whatever you want in this type of combinations, you can use it. And again, if you select instead of this PDF, if you select an XLS or a CSV, then you can open that report in Excel and make it even more, even smarter than what it is already. Yeah, so another one in the center attendance is going to be the actual, report for the actual student. In this case, you see that I have just selected my student and then he came 4 times for that specific center. And I didn't pick too much filters. And actually, and this is something else that I see some people that they don't know and they have some issues with. If you notice, those checkboxes on the report wizard, they are not checked. And what that means is if there is no checkbox checked, like for example, let's say this location and services. If there is nothing checked on that checkbox, what that is going to tell Accudemia is that it's going to be using all the items in that specific topic. So for example, if you want to filter this report just for 5 students that you have in a list for some reason, then you can check that student checkbox, select those 5 students from the list, and then this report is going to be based on those 5 students only. But if you don't check that checkbox right there, then all the students that are right now, active in your account are going to be taken into consideration. So the only thing that you need to be aware of is if you need to filter, go to the option, select your items, and then you're going to see that there's going to be that checkbox. It's going to have a check mark. Then you know that you're filtering by that item and not using all the items that Accudemia has right now. Okay. Now for appointments, which is another one that most schools would take into consideration to have, how many appointments you have every day, every week, how many people are coming, and the booking of appointments as a general rule, then the daily appointment report is going to be probably the one that you're going to be using the most, because you're going to have, actually, if you notice on the right, that example, you're going to have exactly who is booking the appointments, when, what service they picked, what course they picked, and some really big in details. So if you want to have a lot of details about daily appointments, then this daily appointment report is going to be the one that you're going to be considering. And this is another really good example on those reports that you might want to have scheduled. Okay, so for example, what most schools would do, at least the ones that I have meetings every week, is that they schedule for every Friday night or every Monday morning. They schedule this appointment for last week, for example. So last week, the information for the complete week, they're going to be showing it or sending it to the tutors, the center management, or whoever they need to have this. And then they don't need to come to Accudemia. They are not going to be wasting time getting information in Accudemia that you can send it automatically. Okay, so this is another good example for that. So basically just remember to pick a calculated type of field in the time range, and then just use the schedule report to see the target audience where you're going to be sending this report, and then see how it comes to your inbox on a weekly, daily, monthly, however the periodicity you schedule, right? So this is another really important one. Why? Because you probably want to know what is happening in the sessions, how the sessions are taking place, if people are happy, if they have some issues, if something is going on with the tutor, with the student. There is a lot of reasons why you want to create assessments. Okay, so basically those tutoring assessments that you need to create, where basically you're going to have a formal set of questions that you're going to be asking to your tutor related to the session. Okay, maybe it's going to be, how did the session go? Do you need something else, or was the student paying attention, or did the student have some issues with something else? I mean, there's hundreds of questions you might ask in the tutoring assessment, And that tutoring assessment result report that you're seeing right here on the left is going to show you that information, okay? So basically, if you notice right here on the right, again, this is just example data, and it's really simple type of questions, and you can make it really complex the way you want it. But in that specific case, you see how you have the answers related to those tutoring assessments. And again, remember that the tutoring assessment can be set per center. So every center can create a different assessment based on whatever they want to ask. And you can only have one tutoring assessment per center enabled at a time. Okay. So, and this is another tip that I want to share. Maybe you are going to be creating more than one assessment format, and then you can have one disabled and one enabled. So maybe you in this semester you just want to ask simple things like how did the session go, if there was any issue, but maybe you have another one with 5 or 6 questions that are more complex, where you want to evaluate, the student, if they have any issues, if they were paying attention, if they need a follow-up, if they need to, whatever that might be. So you can have more than one tutoring assessment per center, but you need to have one enabled, one disabled, and then you can flip-flop what assessment you're going to be asking, depending on what you want to know. Okay? So this is a really good one. There is another one, because this is a summary one, but there is another one for details. If you want to know exactly the details for each one of those assessments per session, you can create that report too, and you can schedule that report and you can send it to the tutor on a weekly or daily basis. This is really good because sometimes the tutor will forget what they did on last Monday because they have a lot of things to do. And then maybe it's going to be okay to send it every Friday night, all the tutoring assessment that they have been creating during the week. So they can see if there was some issue, if they need to follow up with some student. There is a lot of, powerful reasons why you want to have this type of reports. Another one that is really important related to the tutors, because most reports are going to be based on students. Students are the most important people in academia, but some of them are those related to tutors. And actually, this is related to one newer feature that is not being used that much. And it's a pity because it's a really nice one, which is the tasks. If you haven't enabled the tasks for your tutor, basically what that is going to do is when the tutor sign into a kiosk, or when they log into Accudemia and they use Accudemia to sign in, basically they can tell Accudemia what they are going to be working with, specific topics. For example, right there, as you see in this example, for example, one of the tasks for my tutor is going to be reviewing classroom or curricular topics. So that's going to be one of the tasks that they can be working with. The other one, for example, is number 2 is assisting student with homework projects. Another one is demonstrating academic best practices. So there's a lot of topics or items or tasks that you can have the tutor pick. And what you're seeing in this report is that you can have a report based on those tasks. So for example, it's going to tell you that John has been working Monday meeting with the students, and then Wednesday he was working demonstrating academic best practices, and then Friday he was working on something else. So you know exactly what the tutor is doing, and not like this general, he was just working. So you know exactly specifically what they are working with, and that's going to give you more information about what they are doing and why, and if you need to give them provide more help if they are having a hard time picking, getting so much work done, or there is a lot of reasons why you want to gather this type of reports to know exactly your manpower, those that are helping the students, how they are, taking advantage of their time. And then this is a really big one, and this was a really hard one to pick. There is one report which is not a report, it's a mega report, which is the how, hang on a second. What is the name of the traffic analysis? Of course. Yeah, if you go to your list of reports, there's going to be one in the center attendance is right at the bottom of the section, which is going to say traffic analysis. And that is a mega report, because if you click that, it's going to download a file that you need to, when you open that file, you're going to have, I think it's like 15 or 20 different PDFs with different items. As you can see, actually, you can see there right there. So all those checkboxes that you see down here are different reports that you can generate for your traffic analysis. So that, I mean, it depends on what you want to know exactly, but the three that I'm showing on the right is typically what most people would select. For example, the visit by day and hour, because you want to know probably when user sentence, crowded, when you need to have more tutors there waiting to assist some of the students, and the different times of the day. For example, you see how Wednesdays and Thursday for my sandbox is two of the busiest days, but then Monday and Tuesday there's hardly nothing, and there was nothing on Friday. In my case, it's an example, but in your case, you know that Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday is where you need to have the most help for the students, because this is when they are coming the most. And then if you notice by the color, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. On Wednesdays is one of the busiest times of the day, and 12 to 1 p.m. is another one. So that is going to give you a hint on how many people are coming, when they are coming, when you need to have the more help for the students, because there are going to be more people waiting there. And then one similar one, because you can pick between text-based or having one of these diagrams that look really nice. Then you can have a session time by day, as you can see there. For example, right here, you can see that Thursday is where you have the most sessions. Okay, in this case is seconds because it's a sample, but in your case, it's going to say hours. Depending on your specific case. And then the visit by service is another big one. So basically, the visit by service, as you can see there, in my sandbox, people come the most to have face-to-face tutoring. So face-to-face tutoring is by a large margin my most famous service. So most people come for face-to-face, and then some people come to go to have computer use, and I have some people coming for online services. So now you know which is the service that you need to have more tutors engaged with, because that is the most, the one that the students are picking the most. Um, and then I'm going to go quickly to export, because I could be here all day, but I know that we have many things to do. Because this is actually some features in Accudemia that they are not that used. And it's a pity, because if you go to administration advanced export, you are going to have some links to export some items from Accudemia in a raw format, in a CSV format. And that is really powerful. And the reason for that is not going to look as nice as a normal report with headings and things like that. But when you use export, like for example, right there, if I want to export my students for some reason, then I can have the raw data that I can open in Excel, and I can do many things with it. For example, right there, if you notice, I can export my student information, or underneath you can see that I can export my classes and courses. And this is really powerful, because let's say that I want to inactivate 200 students. Instead of doing one at a time, or bothering my IT guys to do it via import, I could export this list of students, and I can use ADX, the import tool, to inactivate those students in a couple seconds. It's going to be really fast. And the same for example, if you look at the other screen, let's say for session logs, and this is really powerful. If you notice in the export feature related to session logs, you're going to see that you have a lot, actually there's like 20 or 30 columns there that are going to tell you tutor information, instructor information, session information, dates, times, services, courses. And if you notice, and actually if you see down there, the second screenshot, you have seen that you see all these functions that you have in red. This is what you could do in Excel using those export CSV files. So you can filter the same way as you do in the report. You can calculate session time, or you can summarize using Excel tools. For example, right there, you can determine which ones are appointment, which ones are walk-in sessions. You can use Excel, many tools, to have a lot of information like totals, subtotals, highlights, whatever you want, using those CSV files that you can get using the export. So if you haven't noticed it, if you can go to that advanced setting, export, and taking a look at those CSV files that you can come out of Accudemia, is going to help you a lot. Opening in Excel is going to open a wide range of opportunities that you don't have in the reports that much because the reports are more fixed. You can have some filters, but it's not like this one where you can really work with many tools and make it really nice, depending on what you want to know. And you can even open several export CSV files and you can combine them by knowing the ID of the student and the ID of the session. There's a lot of things you can do. And actually, we have been helping many users get specific and custom type of information by using this type of reports. This is all I wanted to share with you today. There is a lot of things to love about Accudemia export and reports. And that is why when you have some really custom things to do, some really elaborated type of report, then I can always come and get the magic open by manipulating these files. So please be my guest and give it a try. And if you want to learn more, just let me know, support@accudemia.com, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jorge. Thank you. So at this time, we'll take any questions on this topic. I do want to draw attention to one question that just came in the chat by Pamela. She asks, is the visits by day and hour in the traffic analysis comparable to the daily peak hour report in AccuSQL, as in the head count by hour?
I'm gonna write it down in one of my sticky pads, because I will have to share it with the specialists in AccuSQL to make sure. Although it does sound like they are comparable, but I want to make sure. So I'm gonna be figuring this out and replying with more information. Okay.